Mainly me. Okay, that seems to be working too. Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday, July 12th, 2016, and welcome to the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group. One more time. It's been probably 3.5 years or something been going on here, and still working with our reactors and creating new things every week. Still haven't lifted off the ground, most of us, so far as I know. A few people aren't here anymore in the group, and I wonder what happened to them, but I think they're still on the ground here. So let's get into today's show, which I don't have a lot to show at this point, but we'll see as we go on what we can pull out of the hat, the magic hat in the back. There's always something going on in the back. You can see my table here is now more full of stuff, and I've got little things, ideas that are germinating back there and putting up their hands. Me, pick me. I'm just saying, quiet, you guys, quiet. I'm trying to do some other things here. But they're going to get some attention quite soon here. All these little projects are going to come to life. And speaking of projects coming to life, I think Lee Coates has something to show there. He showed me a little teaser picture, so let's spotlight his video and see what he's got. Let me just get it. Somehow mine has to go away. How come it's not doing that? I have to... Yeah, okay.
With them, according to Mike Nashif, but we'll see. they're a
Okay.
nice, fun little project anyway. It didn't take much time, and I had the parts, and so I just threw them together and to see what would happen.
Cool. I see. I had the live stream microphone off for a moment for a first part of your talk there. But what? Tell me. You got these plugged in right now? Or are they plugged into the mains as such?
Plugged into AC power.
Yeah. And it goes into the coils inside each ball, right?
Yeah.
So you have a triple coil.
There's triple coil in each ball,
Mm-hmm.
And there are the infinity loop coils.
Right.
So you got two quad coils that are twisted together. So it's double quad coil or whatever.
And what about the connection on the outside there? What is that? Copper foil, or is it a copper wire? Foil.
There's some copper foil. I used to do a lot of stained glass work, so it's just some stained glass copper foil.
Now is that
the joint? But it wasn't. The glue is gone on. My foil's 20 years old, and so the glue wasn't holding, so I had to glue them together. But I put the nano-coated foil around it anyway.
Does it have a direct connection to anything? The nano-coated foil.
Other than your hand when you put when you hold them.
Right. I mean, it's not hooked up to the mains tower or anything.
I actually made it so that it wasn't touching any of the wires.
That's probably a good idea.
So
it looks a little scary that way. But
and Mike didn't really explain the reason for it, other than maybe that he was using the tape to tape the balls together. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Well, it does make sense in a way. It's another ring. It's definitely a conducting ring there, which will have its own fields that'll be directing things. It's part of the figure eight if you look at the way it goes around one and the other one.
Yeah. So anyway, I test them with a little frequency tester. There's very little field coming out. There is a field, but you have to be like a quarter-inch away to detect anything. So there's not a lot of field coming out of them, but I just hold them in your hand. That feels good. So so I'll just keep holding them for the next couple of weeks while I'm watching the training videos and see if it tunes up my DNA. I don't know.
Well, seems to be making you happy. So far so good.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a fun little project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that one.
Just so people know, how long would it take you to put something together like that now that you're more experienced at it?
This little guy, these guys,
Including
I
warm up time for the hot glue gun.
well, I made the coils in about couple hours
Hmm.
last Tuesday, just before the meeting. Like I watched Mike Nazif's got a video showing you how to make them step by step on
Hmm.
his channel, YouTube channel. And I said, hey, there's a neat project. So I just made up the coils there just before the meeting last week. And then I had to nano coat them and gans them and all that other good stuff, which took quite a while, a few days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the
So,
time-consuming part, really.
and then really it was just yesterday that I put them all together and put all that hot glue on them to hold them together.
Hmm.
So it was time wise, let's say 8 hours to do those 4 balls.
Right. Okay. A couple hours per ball, basically, to
Something like that.
put
By the
something
time
together like that.
I had everything in. So,
Alrighty. Nice. Got any other goodies you want to show? What do you got in your magic box there?
well, this is about a couple of months ago. I was going to do a Q144, and then I started getting second thoughts about making these Q reactors. So but I already had 40 capacitors built, so I'm making it an IQ 144 now. So I'm just getting started on it. I got another 80 capacitors to build.
What's the
So
difference again between the Q and the IQ?
the Q is Cosell's invention,
Okay.
and Cosell and Pepe. And the IQ is Mike Nassif's. That's the infinity coil
Okay.
Q
Right.
device, or quantum.
Got it.
Q stands for quantum. So this is
Hmm.
an infinity quantum. Now Mike Nashif I've never seen him build anything beyond a Q6, or IQ6. I mean, uh, so this is an IQ 144. This thing will be huge. There's like, I don't know, 15,000 interactions if you do it calculate them the way Mike calculates them. So I have no idea what kind of power I'm going to get out of this. So we'll see.
Interesting.
I'm going for the power this time. See what happens.
Okay.
Rick, let me butt in a minute.
Absolutely.
Supposedly, if you use some of Mike's uh, quad cores or anything where you do your multiple twisting of the wires and don't count them, you're putting a combination lock on your wiring that quantum and whatnot can't go through.
That's correct. That's why I quit building the Q devices of co-cells, and I'm using these infinity cores on the capacitors now.
Well, that's why I scared as hell of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I'm leery of it, and I don't. So why bother with it? So that's why I'm doing the infinity stuff until we got something new from Keshe to build. You know.
Right. Maybe it's
So
opening a Pandora's box.
this design isn't like Cosell's design. Like this interior there's 8 infinity capacitors. This is more like Mike Nashev's IQ6 only doubled, and then right in the center, which you can't really see, I guess, but there's 4 Gantz balls in there, all glued together as almost like in a starship formation. So each with a different Gantz in them, or Gantz water, and I'm using the Q capacitors as my parallel capacitors. I already had 40 of them built, and then I'm building another 96 the IQ capacitors to go around this thing, and I'm gonna put them around a little bit different than what what how Pepe was doing it. So
So
we'll see how it turns out.
will this end up being self-generating generator, or is this still going
No,
to be plugged into the grid? Mm-hmm.
it's something that needs to be plugged in still, and it's just supposed to be a very powerful. The Q144s that they have are just very powerful plasma generators, which basically they say when you know how to teleport and stuff that you can teleport to anywhere in the universe with this thing that's so powerful. The Q devices. Now, whether mine's going to be that powerful or not, I don't know. Like their devices have these aluminum cones in the center here in the core, and I'm using that little starship formation of plasma balls and Mike's capacitor arrangement that he uses. So that's different. I'm using different capacitors on the outside in a different arrangement and stuff. So whether it works or not, we'll find out.
Right. You think with that many capacitors, it might have the capacity to be self-generating somehow.
Well, I can always hope, but the Q devices were not self-generating.
Right. And so the main idea behind the Q devices was to make it easier for certain things, certain
like
powers that you could attain, and so on.
Yeah, Pepe and Cosell, they could through their Q devices, their 144s, they could get in touch with the other Q devices around the world, and it actually supposedly put out some kind of a field or dome out past the moon all the way around the planet of some kind. I don't know exactly what. They didn't explain it, so I don't know exactly what, but that's the kind of power the thing's supposed to have. So we'll see. But in my capacitor cores here, the infinity cores, I got 8 wires. So if you got 8 wires times 96 of them, and plus the ones in the center that are going to be in parallel with the ones on the outside, I'm going to have something like 15,000 to 20,000 interactions or something, field interactions. So that's a lot.
More than you can count in a day.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen with this thing. I'm just going to find out.
Interesting.
It'll probably take a couple of weeks to get it finished.
I see. Okay. Well, we'll keep tuning in here week by week, it seems. Thanks, Lee. Appreciate your stuff as always. Okay, so let's see. How do I get this? There we go. And okay, let's move into part 2 of the show, which means oh, there's Mark. Mark must be part 2 of the show. All right, sounds good to me. You're on, Mark.
Already?
Not quite. I'd have to do a little finagling to get this pinned on the second screen. There we go, and spotlight the video. All right, you're spotlighted. What would you like to tell the world this week?
I just woke up. I'm just walking.
Oh, whoops. Maybe we should have put you in part 3 then.
You might want to, because I got a lot of questions. Has anybody talked about anything yet?
No, we're just getting going, and we looked at Lee Coates's new balls that he has, and he's yeah. So and that was interesting, and now we've progressed into part 2, and suddenly you showed up, so I figured you were due to say something, but if you have a question or something, otherwise anyone else here might have something to share. We have a couple of microphones open. We've got well, Lee, I guess I can close yours now. There we go, thanks. And Alper, did you have something you wanted to say? Your mic is open. I don't think you wanted to say something yet. perhaps I'll mute your microphone, Alper, and you can talk later. Okay. Anybody else have something they want to show? Mario, anything new with you? Or how about...
No, hello everybody. No, I'm still scuffling with the eating thing. But there's something Mr. Keshe said for me, it was last night, I guess you guys this morning. It was my understanding that you cannot travel the universal community to space, deep space, unless you have the, man, I was just joking. Unless you have the ethos of the universal community. But did I get this right? Did Mr. Keshe say there are aliens on this planet masquerading as humans, committing these evil deeds? A sort of David Icke kind of thing? Is that right?
I don't know if it's quite that way, but the idea is that there may be aliens among us, and it may be even us, because when you think about it, where do we come from? It's not from the Earth. We come from the stars. We're made of star parts, not Earth parts, in a sense. All the substances on Earth came from stars at a certain point. So our arising is not from Earth. It is actually from stars, and that's where our origin was. So we're all aliens. Comes right down to it. Some of us might be closer to, what if an alien civilization started here, went off into space for a few million years, came back here and tried to see what happened in the meantime, and so on. Because we keep thinking of our ordinary time frames and what we think of as time and space and so on. Maybe it's a little different than what we've been taught in that realm. But yeah, it seems like basically there are other races among us. Some may be helpful and some may be harmful. Is that the way you understand it, Mary, or what do you think about that?
It seems like the reason that humans are not in the universal community now is because we don't have the right ethos yet. So if there are aliens here, they must have come from deep space, from somewhere else. How do they travel if they don't have the right ethos? Or did they come here and then change their ethos? Or is it all basically humans? I mean, that's what I tended to think, that humans got this knowledge from aliens and some of them use it for their own benefit to abuse the others, I guess is the way Mr. Keshe would put it. That was my basic understanding, but I kind of got the idea that Mr. Keshe was hinting at another thing happening, that there are aliens here and it's time for them to stop what they were doing or something like that, but not really sure. I was wondering if anybody caught that, yeah?
I'm not sure if it was aliens or not that were causing all the trouble. He certainly named other groups being involved, and that's been kind of obvious, and there's certainly lots of both theories and facts about all that kind of thing. So, it's kind of a matter of perspective in a way. Because just saying that there's aliens running amongst us that are causing the trouble is a little too simplistic, because, I see humans, all kinds of regular, ordinary humans causing all kinds of trouble. We don't have to be aliens to cause trouble. In fact, that's why we're stuck on planet Earth, is because we're troublemakers. We have to stop causing trouble in order to get off the planet. I think that we've had implanted here beings from other civilizations, other dimensions, other time frames that are here to teach, that are here to, in a way, I'm getting some feedback through one of the microphones here. I'm not sure. I'll mute you, John, and see if that does it, maybe. That's better. Yeah, so that there might be, it's still coming through. Maybe it's on yours, Mario.
Yeah.
It's probably, maybe if you turn your speakers down a little bit, it's probably much better. Okay, anyways, that there are these sort of like if you think of it in terms of a mole. A mole is a person that's part of a secret group or something who sort of pops up at a certain time when a certain secret keyword comes up and does their little job or whatever. But it's kind of like that. I think there's people that are implanted in our society and they pop up and they expound the truth about the situation and get the ears of certain people that are able to understand, to feel that truth at that time, and that's able to elevate the souls of men, you might say, souls of mankind, not overall, but in individuals at least. And then now I think we're having, it's been that way for probably thousands of years, where there's been hidden teachings that all about the universe, and that's why the early civilizations were so focused on the stars and universe and the forces of the heavens and so on. Is there real forces that can be felt when, especially in the old days when people were really sensitive to that kind of thing? It may be even closely descended from some race that may have dropped them off in one of their trips across the universe. But I think it's more, Mr. Keshe has been talking about, and the way I understand it more, is that in the true sense of traveling through space, we basically fold down into a DNA or RNA package, fly through space in that package, and then unfold onto some planet or some place where we manifest, where we become, we manifest into this, what we call life. And it may be that this life is not really our true nature. We forget our true nature as eternal beings that are able to fold down and travel once we become hooked on the planet that we land on, and we manifest as a bird, an animal, a human, or some superhuman, or extraterrestrial, or whatever. Depending on our ability to either voluntarily or involuntarily take a rebirth in different forms. So you might have, as a being, have some control over that. You might be able to, say, you might be able to determine, I'm going to take this birth and not that birth. But you might only have a microsecond to decide that, for example. Or perhaps it's totally out of control and it's an involuntary rebirth into who knows what. Whatever the last desire, that you had as a being might be where you manifest in the next lifetime or whatever. So I think it depends a lot on intent and how we become voyagers in space. If we do it willy-nilly, then we end up willy-nilly on some planet as maybe an insect or some other form that is fine, but it's just it may not be as an evolving life form where we're able to interact with others on a more emotional, spiritual level, higher levels, and so on, and maybe be able to travel through space and be conscious at the same time of others around us, and so on. Maybe not in the physicality, maybe in the physicality. There's so many ways, it seems, that this traveling through space can be done. So if that's true, then yes, people would have landed here at different times in the past and in the present as souls or beings that are manifesting on this planet. And some of the children today are just super intelligent and super intuitive, and very spiritual and scientific at the same time, and so on. Just, these wise words literally coming out of the mouths of babes. So perhaps this is another way to look at it, that it's not just, the bad guys are amongst us and doing all this stuff to us. Perhaps that is true to a large extent, especially in some cultures of the world where things have been fairly controlled by certain families and so on for a long time. But it seems at this point in time that the traditional slave drivers are no longer able to keep a handle on things. The slaves are becoming conscious of what's going on and wanting their freedom. Freedom in the bigger sense, and freedom in the sense that we want to be free to leave the planet as well, to travel, to attain our true nature as voyagers. I think that's a big factor, that we have this destiny that if we wish to choose it, if we wish to take it, that we can have. But again, we have to have the ethos of the universe in order to travel in the universe. Otherwise, we're going to come bang smack up against something that we aren't able to handle, and it'll either gulp us or we'll try to gulp it, and it'll taste real bad, and we'll get, pass away or whatever. So go ahead, Mark? I've been rambling for quite a while here, but I was on a run.
Well, you're on the same path as like the pioneers and the cowboys, and like last week you had the gun, the gun. There you go.
The bubble gun of doom. Is it gonna work this week? Come on, baby. There it goes. Whee! Oh, I feel so good. Here, I'm gonna shoot myself. It's great.
And probably more than likely the people that took their first journeys outward, like pioneers, like in trails that go west, my friend, they had an ethos. They had to stick together. They were a family because they could have got eaten. Just like we're a family that we're going forward because maybe we might get eaten. We don't want to get eaten. We want to become friendly. We want to learn how to be friendly. We want to be able to give as much as we can give, but we don't want to give so much that we exhaust what we have. So the systems that we're creating are giving. Well, first we're learning how to. We're giving people. Period. I think humans are innate spiritually giving. We want to give, but sometimes we give too much to where, it just exhausts us to the point where we don't have much left to give. But that also is a good thing because then it elevates your soul to another level because you're so exhausted. Like the idea of the Mother Teresa who constantly just gave.
That's right. You can actually get into a second wind of giving, basically, and that becomes your whole life, and you get into that flow. It's a flow that you can just partake in, and the more you put out, the more it comes in the sense of that evolutionary fields, you might say, because you have to give in order to receive. And it's not just about accumulating, because that's not the name of that game. Someone once said, to the essential self, there's nothing there's nothing to accumulate and nothing to defend.
There should be a complete balance.
Yes, or maybe just slightly off balance enough to keep some movement going. But to the essential self, again, is there any movement? Is there really a reality in that sense?
So is this where we're at? Where we've always been in the well, put it this way. In the beginning, there was one. And then the one said to itself, man, I'm tired. I need two. So then it created two. With the two, it becomes three. Because the two together always have to have a little fun, which always creates one more, the third one. So from the third one now, we need to move from the third to the fourth, is what I'm thinking, is why we're going. And the fourth one, which the way I think, what I'm thinking is, if we had a pure zinc, copper, and a iron, those are the three strongest elements that we have to work with. The fourth element, or the fourth place, or the fourth destination, is the combination of the three, which moves you, like you said, we're satisfied with the three. We're moving to the four now, which is the three combinations, which makes us comfortable in the fourth dimension. And that's what I think that's what I kind of think is happening. It's just my theory or hypothesis. And if I got a lot of stuff over here. I've been working my butt off, and I was so happy that Mr. Keshe came in last week and just said something to me that made me work overtime harder than ever. And then I was so saddened by Fabio, and it scared me, and I had to stop, and I had to rethink, and why is this and why is that? You know, the plus and the minus, it scares. But I wasn't scared to the point where I wanted to quit again, because I did that once before with all this. As I told you before. This time I had a revelation that, you know, whatever is thrown against us, we have to push forward. And the young man would tell us, push forward, my friend. I may not be here right now, but I'm with all of. And that's how any pioneer or any spirit or anybody or anyone that's put out in front would tell you, don't stop now, keep going. It's a tough job. So it made me work even harder when all this happened. And it's not for us to question why. It's only for us to send as much love and positive feeling to Giovanni's family, and hope Naomi gets better, and whatever we can do with all our positive feelings, and whoever else is adding to this, please just push forward. It's not something we should stop with, or get the hiccup, or make us scared, or think that the red or blue or green circle is after us. I went through all that. I thought everything was after me. I thought the next thing was going to happen. They were coming through the back door. My poor mom was going to be screaming, "Oh, don't take my son!" But I'm over all that. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is if we push forward. I was even worried that tonight's gathering wouldn't even be because of whatever forces against us.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's right. It's when we're faced with especially a life and death type situation. It's not operating properly tonight. Okay, I just have to spotlight the video properly. There we go. Yeah, I think when people are presented with, death, basically, whether it's a death of a loved one, someone close to you, or you hear of, it could be someone you don't even know on the other side of the world, but it just is a certain angle on the story that it really touches you, and so on. It makes us reflect upon our own mortality and our own possible death, and the fact that we are still alive, and it makes us feel more alive in a way, and more thankful and with gratitude to be alive. And maybe we can even work toward evolution on behalf of those who have passed already, and use their spirit, if you will, their will, or their memory, to leapfrog ahead, to push ourselves forward even faster than we were going before, in effect. So I think this is something that can be done, and also keeping in mind that maybe we can also communicate with those who have passed to help them in their passing, in effect. This is a tradition, or a service that's part of many different groups and many religions, is to honor the dead and to actually keep in communication, like in the for example, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or the American Book of the Dead, or I think even the Egyptian Book of the Dead. They keep in contact with the deceased for example, 49 days is a common number, and you do readings to the deceased person during that time, and guide them through what's called the bardos, or the between life state. So that would be a service that would be good to learn to do for folks that are orientated that way, that already have a natural inclination to help others, that extends beyond this side of the veil to the other side of the veil. And I know people that do that, and they have practiced this for many decades, actually, and are quite good with it in terms of establishing contact with what they call the Voyager. And that's what we are. Basically, we're Voyagers, and we happen to be on this planet right now, but who knows where we voyaged to before our arising on this planet. And this is the idea that I like to try to come back to more and more, is the idea that our position on this planet is a temporary affair. And we think it's the greatest thing in the world, and essentially it is in this world, but it may not be the greatest thing in the universe, and maybe becoming human isn't as spiffy as we thought it was when we first dove into this body. We see all the pain and suffering and horrible things that humans are doing to each other, and just the natural disasters and this and that, and we think, what is it all for if there's so much pain and suffering? Some of I think it's the Buddhism, is life is suffering, and one of the tenets is to try to alleviate the suffering of others, and so on. So there's a lot of big questions come up in times of trauma and stress, as in the passing of others. And the name Fabio came up, just to let people know who Fabio was. Fabio was the technician and friend of many people in the Keshe Foundation, and he's basically was the right-hand man for Mr. Keshe during the broadcasts, and would help with the technical issues and sound and video and so on. It was the main contact for me to get the video and sound correct and so on. And he's been involved he also translated some of the books into Italian and so on, and he was quite a important figure in a way. So he passed July 6 in an auto accident in Italy. So just to let people know some of the background on that. And we had basically 4 days of mourning where we didn't put any publications in from the Keshe Foundation and so on. People spent the time in contemplation and reflection and so on. Okay, what else we got lined up, guys and girls? We don't have any girls here tonight. Just guys, I guess. Maybe on the live stream. I haven't looked at the actual live stream. Because when I do, it automatically kicks on the live stream and interrupts my audio, so I can't really check the comments here.
Hey Rick, this is Denny. How you doing?
Hi, Danny. Good. How are you?
Well, I was wondering about the gouging rods, the carbon gouging rods that people were using. I think John and Don had a little video out about the gouging rod. That's carbon air. It's like a welding rod, but it's it's carbon and it gouges into the metal. And they use that instead of a nano-coated copper plate, and they put some low amperage through it, low voltage and low amperage, and they got some type of GANs. Has anybody done that?
I haven't yet, but I do have some carbon rods I got many months ago that I've been wanting to use for GANs experiments like that. Mark, you had your finger up. What was that?
Hi, Denny.
Hi, how you doing, Mark?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
So yeah, I did some experiments with it too, but I wanted to hear from other people as well, and then I'd share what I found out a little bit too.
Well, I'm just glad that you are hanging in there. Us old timers are, it's late for us.
It is. I've been skipping quite a few of the regular private classes to view them later because staying up late had gotten to me.
That can do that. That's what happened to me after doing it day after day after day, and I had to take a break to only 2 or 3 days a week.
Well,
I still pull all-nighters, though.
Yes, you do. You pull way more than
I'm
I
probably
ever want to do.
probably older than most of you guys, too, so...
Hey, I'm 56.
Well, I'm 61, so I got you beat.
Yeah, I'm 69.
Okay.
I'm headed into the 70s.
All right. Right,
So,
good for you.
So
Back to the 70s. That's kind of a good sign.
so here's what I found out. I used a very low amperage. I was using a zinc plate, and the gouging rod. The amperage I used was 300 milliamps or less. The voltage ranged around 1.2 volts to 1.6, somewhere in the neighborhood of that. And everything went well. And I had this big tub that held about 35 to 40 gallons of water. And so I had gone out and went wild, and I had purchased 30 gallons of distilled water, and I filled that up, and it was at 80. Yeah, in a cart you can put quite a few. There's 15 per layer in a cart. So
Yeah.
anyhow, that was 88 cents per gallon, and so I was a little squeamish about spending that, but I wanted this experiment, and I had this big tub, and I was also thinking about going to some water, kind of drinking water barrels that you put drinking water in and store the drinking water in, so they were fairly safe to hold. The type of plastic was a non-leacher, and so
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about doing that, and I set aside that funny whiz bang reactor that I showed a couple of weeks ago because although now I have the parts to make it, I want I'm reluctant to make it because of the amount of work that's going into it.
Mm-hmm.
So back to my GAN story. Um, my power supply, I had an amperage uh, button that would do milliamps, and then if you pushed it out, when you did milliamps, you pushed it in, and if you pushed it and popped out, it would do your 1 amp and a greater. So with a week of this, with the zinc plate and the gouging rod, uh, uh, somewhere in the amperage gauge gave up the ghost and just registered 999 all the way across. And so I had to use my multimeter then to guess my amperage flow. And and I was a little concerned about getting the milliamps correct because I heard that I'd have to have a different way to do the circuitry rather than just putting the probes onto the to the ends of the alligator clips. But so it worked really well. Into about the second week, and what was really interesting on this particular tub, and what all the GANs formed on the side of the walls as well as on the bottom. It just immediately went to the side of the walls, and I think it's a polypropylene type of tub. It's a really strong tub, and so I noticed that at the second week, at the end of the second week, actually almost started the third, my voltage started going up, and I wanted to know why. And what had happened is the zinc plate had deteriorated so much that it took a lot more voltage to get the same kind of milliamps out. And so I stopped the experiment to check everything out, turned off the power supply, and it ate that zinc plate up so badly that I could barely get it out of its position and out of the tank before it crumpled in my hand. And this was a 99% zinc plate.
Mm-hmm.
And it ate it up so quickly. Well, I wouldn't say so quickly. It gave a lot of GANs. And so then in the process of studying this out, I didn't want to have to spend $78 for another power supply. And so I began searching around, and I was saying, well, if I could come up with a $20 power supply, I might buy 4 or 5 of them and keep on experimenting with all the different types of, with the iron, with the CO2. What I began to think was, what happened to all of that zinc? I'm supposedly making carbon dioxide GANs. It's just as white and pure as well, it's whiter than the driven snow. And it's I got about I would say close to 5 gallons of GANs that I had in that tank, and I didn't pull it all out because some of the zinc had crumpled off when I was taking it out and dropped down, and so I didn't want to siphon that up, so I left it in the container. But that was that's why I was wanting to get a hold of Francois, because he was doing the gouging rods, and I wanted to see if his zinc was being eaten up that fast as well. Because, and here's the other thing that happened: the carbon rod didn't decompose. When I pulled that carbon rod out, it had this gray matter all over it, and I thought, well, this carbon rod is shot. And just being my clumsy self, I ran my fingers over the copper rod, and it's not copper; it's a copper-coated carbon rod. The gouging rod is.
It's copper coated, right? Yeah, copper plated, like.
And so that copper, it's not very thick. And I don't know exactly what alloy or what kind of copper that is. It's just you can see that it's copper coated to kind of hold that carbon together, I think. And
yeah, basically, it's give an arc more
it
easily
is to
as
give
well.
the arc. It's to hold the I don't know exactly how it does it when they do the gouging, but it really works good. That those gouging rods do. So it seemed to me that was zinc.
It seems like you got a bunch of zinc, probably. I'm thinking that it might be too high a voltage or too high of an amperage, and that's why you're getting the zinc wearing down so fast.
Well,
can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
When you hooked up your power supply, where did you put the positive and negative from the supply?
Oh yeah, I put the negative on the gouging rod.
Okay. And the GANs that you got, the top surface of it, does it look light and fluffy like a cloud from above, or does it look like pancake batter?
No, it's light and fluffy. That stuff comes off there when it comes off of that rod, and you're watching it. It's coming off in a very very small. It looks like when it comes off of that, it looks like a fizzing going on.
Right. Well, because typically the CO2 GANs is going to look light and fluffy. The top won't be a flat surface of your, like when the GAN settles in your jar or in your bottle. The top will always have this texture to it, where typically the zinc oxide GANs is flat like pancake batter.
No, it's well. Let me put it this way: you give
Ju-
it enough
just
time,
meant-
I think it'll go flat.
Denny, yeah, I was going to say, John, do you mean after it's already been rinsed several times with distilled water and so on? Because that makes a difference in whether it's fluffy or flat, it seems. The difference between salt water and the distilled water is quite a difference in density. So
once I so I'm in the process of washing the salt out. I have a 5-gallon jug that has a spigot on it that I purchased specifically for this type of experiments. I have about 4 of those jugs, because what I was contemplating was the jug or the container that the GANs are made in supposedly holds a plasma field. And so I was really after the jug being, once I got the GANs out of it, using the plasma field that was I guess the jug was imbued with. And so these were 5-gallon jugs. And so I was setting it. I have set up with one with the iron, one with the copper, and one with the zinc, and then one that I was going to make copper for a while, then zinc for a while, then iron for a while, and in each one of those jugs, I had put I have some glass balls, so that maybe those as well would be imbued with the plasma. I didn't know for certain, because some of this stuff I'm grossly incompetent in. I just do it and observe. And the intent is, well, this is my supposition. I'm going to give it a try. That's what I sometimes I do, and so I have those set up. and the iron, of course, works real well. And I didn't use copper rods for those particular jugs. I did for that particular big tub. I have another 33-gallon plastic barrel that has an open. Well, it has an open lid. You can put the lid on it. It doesn't have small spouts or sprungs in the, so whatever you call it, it has the big open lid. You can take the lid off, and it has an open top. And so I was in the process of saving enough money to get 4 of those, and but I want to know what Mr. Keshe is going to have, and so I'm thinking of when I build my mixers and blenders. Of course, I was going to use just a drill that gives me variable speed and gives me the forward and backwards. Gives me the drill has the where he has the counterclockwise and it has the clockwise on it. And so I was going to mix my stuff that way. Right now I'm doing it by hand with a paddle, or I stir it with a paddle. So that's what I noticed. I'm pretty certain my amperage was below 300 milliamps. My voltage stayed somewhere around 1.2 to 1.4 most of the times. It's that way right now. I put a new plate in it. I collected what GANs that I was comfortable with without picking up any of the extra zinc that was on the bottom. I think for certain that it's a combination of CO2 and zinc, because I can't imagine the zinc plate decomposing that much without making a zinc GANs out of it. I can't imagine that the zinc coated the gouging rod without having zinc GANs in that. And then John, you definitely gave me a good clue. Once you mix that, once you've taken the salt out of your GANs, does it lay flat or does it fluff up? Well, it seems like it has both that particular ability. I noticed that before I took the salt out of it, it did look like it was a pail of milk. And so that would be the pancake effect that the pancake dough effect that you're talking about. So it had a flat surface but it wasn't entirely flat. So once I took the salt, started my first experiment to take the salt out of it, it stays fairly fluffy on the top now. So I'll see what happens. I'm going to transfer it all to the barrel here so that I have liquid GANs and stir it. The barrel is a 33-gallon barrel. So
I am sorry, why you need that big of a barrel?
What?
Why you need that big of a barrel?
Hey, it's for the fun of it.
Fun.
And it's the thing of it is, I don't really have the true intent. One of the things that is involved in it is that how far will the fields go out once of the barrel? Will it go out? I don't know. It's no difference than if it's a small one. Okay, the 5-gallon bucket, 5-gallon thing cost me $20. So that's equivalent to buying several tubs, and it had a spigot on it, and so that was a bonus, and the barrel was easy to use my paddle to stir up the GANs and the GANs water. So, but I also have the intent. I have a bunch of plastic balls, and I have the 2 sizes of ping pong balls, and I haven't graduated yet into and I have the little motors, but I haven't graduated into that area.
Uh,
I'm still kind of reluctant. I mean, I'm still experimenting.
Armin, I was wondering what you thought of his amperage and voltage range. He's running at the point or at 300 milliamps and 1.2 to 1.6 volts.
What you do when you put voltage to the metals? What happens? You see, it's releases hydrogen, correct? Yeah.
Did you have some bubbles coming up, Danny?
Uh, I don't know what it's releasing. I have no idea. I'm using the gouging rod, and off of that gouging rod comes a fizzy cloud. It's a
But
very fine. It's a
uh,
very fine particulate.
Okay.
Everything.
Let me explain.
All right.
When you put energy, you push the molecular structure to release to atomic structure. You put more energy, it's more rapid release. You put less energy, it's like in a natural way it's happening. So, years or days, or, it's releasing in a very slow pace. This is all. You put more energy, more hydrogen is released, more gap is created, so more of molecular structure is released to atomic structure. That's all. Or you put the LED, you create the pool. You're doing the same thing.
Well, yes, I'm.
If you do high voltage, sometimes you see, its release is so rapid. If, let's say the copper, and the color of the copper is dark brown. But if you put it in a slow pace, copper can oxidize in between. So you see, it's a blue color.
Yeah, I'm doing. I was just using the zinc plate and the gouging rod, and I was trying to go as low a milliamp as I could with the fizz off of it, and I was trying to go as low as voltage as I could in order to get a little bit of fizz off of it.
Different metals have different, let's say I use to do, I created GANs of, what is it, tungsten. You put two rods, one rod on plus, one rod on minus, and you start to, but its voltage is high. And you have to put some amperage to release it. That's all. That's all you do. When you put electricity, like current in there, you push the molecular structure to release.
Well, what I did notice, and I'll repeat it, is what I did notice is that the zinc actually
You put one plate zinc, another plate zinc, you're gonna get zinc oxide.
Okay, I put one plate zinc and the carbon rod. I put the carbon rod on the negative side.
Yes, correct, a carbon rod, but you have to, polish it, your carbon rod.
The carbon rod is a gouging rod, and it has a copper.
No, that's not that. Just a carbon rod.
Well, the one I was using because of the. Well, I don't know where mine are right now, but
you have
I have some of those too. But the one I was using was a 5/16.
Doesn't matter. Just nanocoat. If you have a zinc, nanocoat the other zinc plate, or you have silver, nanocoat the other one. If you put it actually in a current, and you will see one of your plates, it will become darker. Even you're not
Lost your audio, Armin.
get dark black. Yes. I said if you put any metal, two metals, one on a plus side or on minus side, and you put a current in it in the salt water, one of the plates, it will nano-coat itself. What you do in a nano-coating process, even when NaOH, you create enough heat to release first, molecular structure to atomic.
It looks like Armin's audio cuts in and out.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Hi, Armin. Yeah, you cut out there.
Well, I heard you say hello, Armin, but I can't hear Rick now. I guess I'm having a problem with my stuff.
You should be able to hear me now.
If you put even two not nano-coated materials together and you run a high current in it, you will nano-coat the other one. If you see the one of your plates, it will come dark black. The other one, it will more or less stay the same color. So
I have to apologize. My audio cut out, and so I didn't hear all what you were saying. I'll have to pick it up on the replay.
Yeah, Armin's audio cut out there briefly too, so I'm not sure who's cut out first, but yeah, there's a bit missing there, but he pretty much came back with it. So what would you recommend for the best way to create the elusive pure CO2 GANs, Armin? What can you tell people about that?
okay, pure CO2 GANs, even you put a carbon and a carbon, one nano-coated, one not nano-coated. And what you create, if you put in a slow current, what you create that environment, correct? Rick, do you know how electromagnets works?
How electromagnets work? With a coil of wire, you put the current through,
Mm-hmm.
and it creates a magnetic field, you mean?
Yes. If you put a current, you have to direct that current to somewhere, correct? Release it. So that current is like a power of hydrogen. You go higher, it's a lot of hydrogen is released from the metal.
Did you say, hi, Armin, did Armin say nano-coat a carbon rod?
Nano-coating meaning, you can polish it one. You crush the layers one on each other.
So you just, well, I used emery cloth on those, on mine.
What you use?
Emery cloth to polish the surface.
Whatever cloth you're gonna use, just polish it, crush the
or just a real fine sandpaper.
You're just creating resistance that way.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this because
even your nano material, let's say copper, if you want to keep it, you can crush it several times, nano coat it again, and you will create very thick nano layer, like a carbon layer on top of your copper.
well, I'm kind of poor. I'm poor. I'm a little bit poor. So what I did was on my on the camera here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I went to the big box store and I took. I have a question about this. If it's
doesn't matter, you can do any metal. Don't go to the expensive stuff. Why you do expensive stuff?
This is cheap as all. Is as cheap as
go any metal. If you want to create the same metal, you have to use the same metal to create GANs of the same.
Well, I can show you that in my GANs box.
Go ahead.
Well,
Armin, sorry to come in. I think he's missed the point. Go back and explain from the beginning how you create the hydrogen. You're trying to explain something else, and the information is not carried. It's important what you just explained. Go back and explain how you produce higher amounts of hydrogen. Okay, with the carbon. This is important.
You just put one carbon, you polish it, Mr. Keshe. The other one, just a piece of carbon, and you run the electrical current on it.
Yeah, but explain exactly on why you produce hydrogen. This is something which a lot of people have missed in the teaching. Okay.
Mr. Keshe, when you put the current into the any metal, you're going to produce hydrogen.
No, with carbon it's different.
But every metal carries it too, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. This is the discussion we had. If you remember, I told you stop, don't go where you're going. You remember?
A long time
Yes,
ago, yeah.
Anna. Yeah, you got very upset about it. Why?
No, I think
Because that hydrogen is different than the hydrogen you use if you use carbon. Yeah. Okay. Just explain that it's understood.
You have to polish one carbon rod, because what you do, you crush the layers, you create a resistance in one.
And then you connect it to the load in the salt.
Yes, in a salt, definitely.
Yeah. And you connect it to a load, or you connect it to a power supply, or you just connect them to each other.
Yes.
Explain.
No, I connected to power supply.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. So explain it that you understood.
I connected to power supply and low voltage, and I could 0.01 amp. It's like flicking from 0 to 1.
Okay, but why? What do you get?
Lots of hydrogen.
What happens to the carbon?
Carbon too. Because hydrogen is released in the water.
Yes.
Would not the process be as the carbon is liberated into solution, it actually steals the oxygen?
No. What happened? You should get some amount of CO2 at the bottom.
Yes, we do.
Gas CO2. When you bring the carbon in with the gas CO2, then the carbon attracts the oxygen, and you release atomic hydrogen. You don't release, molecular hydrogen. You don't release atomic hydrogen. In some cases, if you make the speed higher, you create atomic molecular hydrogen and certain amount of helium. All the gases you collect is not what you see. If you, for example, get the Coca-Cola bottle, which I used to show before, and make a hole on the top of Coca-Cola bottle. I've done this a few times because it's the easiest way to produce, and that's what alarmed the Americans in the way I produce atomic hydrogen, because it's the purest form, but it's not igniting form. Is that when you have if you look into teachings long time ago, Armin just explained it. When you rub nano-coated copper, it becomes very shiny. And then if you put it back in a Coca-Cola bottle as one of the elements, and you nano-coat it, now your surface is a diamond, but with characteristics of the copper. You do the same thing. That's what it does. When you rub it, you squeeze it, you create a layer which is a slightly different resistance, but now it's a diamond structure of the carbon. That's why you rub it. So when you put a Coca-Cola bottle, for example, just make a hole in one of the places where you put what I call parachute, and connect it to 2-3 different chambers standing upright. You'll find out that you collect different gases in different chambers. In one chamber you collect hydrogen atomic. In one chamber you collect hydrogen molecular. In one chamber you collect helium. And you have to structure in a way that the gases, according to the mass, take their place in the chamber. And then you can tap into different structure of gas. You need you need the helium to contain the carbon, to contain the atomic hydrogen. You can't do it with anything else. The secret to holding atomic hydrogen is helium. Molecularly holds it, structurally releases it when it's needed. Then you decide when you make a punch hole in the gas. I explained this to Arman a few weeks ago. You know, if you can't do it, what we do, what I do for years, I buy what is called helium sealant. If you go to toy shops where they make these balloons, big balloons with the helium, they just force it with cylinder in. You see they use a glue. It's a little gluish thing. I carry kilos of it. And in all the reactors, I always use it as a sealant. It does not allow any hydrogen to leak from the system, and you can control and hold atomic hydrogen. It's the only way you can do without going to elaborate system which used for military bases. So what you need to do is understand all the gases which are created are partially a very small amount of atomic carbon is released in this process too, because not everything lined up. If you increase the current and the voltage slightly higher, you will see carbon. It's like a black bubbles. You think you haven't seen, but it looks like black bubbles opens up on the top. If you can use this atomic hydrogen as a fuel, atomic carbon as a fuel in your cores, you'll find out you produce very rapidly huge amounts of diamonds. This is how I explained last time, how you can produce a lot of diamonds in the pot. You release, you increase the rate of conversion so high that part of the carbon does not get a chance. And this is what I explained. If you would like a tungsten, hot tungsten next to it, it just rains, what they call it, diamond. This is the process where universe works. The maximum elements which is freely produced in parts of the universe is carbon. And that carbon is exactly like the body of the man in amino acid. It's a line of communication in the universe. Open your eyes in the bigger dimension, not just to be happy to produce it. Understand what's the next step. Understand how you can increase it. Because I've used this carbon for years. For years you can do it, and you produce it. It's a free, direct. You can use it in the cores. If you just close the top of your box where you are collecting the GANs, collect the gases and do the same thing, you collect huge amount of atomic hydrogen, huge amount, but you collect more molecular hydrogen. With the molecular hydrogen you can't do anything, because then you have to break it up into atomic. And breaking atomic hydrogen to a molecular hydrogen to atomic hydrogen, it's a waste of time. But in that process, you produce in part of your stacker, you will see pure CH3. If you speed up everything so fast, the way like I see this when I go to the factory. We produce huge amount of what do you call it, GANs of copper. At a high rate, we produce about 1 or 2 kilos a day, and now we're increasing the production to 200 kilos a day in the next few days. When you produce at such a high level, you produce huge amount of carbon, huge amount of nitrogen gas, and both in atomic and molecular. But in what you do, the important thing is the hydrogen. You're looking in the wrong way. You're looking in a way you're eating, you're putting your hands around your neck and feeding yourself in the mouth. When you look at the hydrogen, when you look at the gases coming out, analyze the gases, look at different shadows of the gases. Look at how these gases interact, how fast one comes from the bottom to the top. You'll find out the gases, some of them bubble very slow to the top. That's your carbon hydrogen, carbon atomic. You see the ones which really fly from the bottom to the top, very small balls. These are atomic hydrogen. become more observant in what you see than being passive, you see. That's why you can't follow things and you get blocked. When you look at the container, just look at the, what they call the CO2 box, or put a carbon and carbon element, and just watch the process. Don't look for an end product. This is where most of our people make mistake. They are in such a hurry, they lose 99% of the knowledge by observing. You see the bubbles which attach to the wall in the plastic. These all have a carbon. These are atomic carbon attached themselves to it, because the CH bond holds on to them.
I'm sorry, Mr. Keshe. Tungsten did the same. A lot of hydrogen stick on.
Yes, because tungsten creates a lot of carbon, atomic carbon and helium. Most of the gases you see is not hydrogen. Okay. You look for the size, you see, by controlling the rate of the current, you look at the size of your bubbles. Okay. And you see, you slowly, like me, after years, you know the size of the bubble means something. They're very, very fine, you don't even see them coming up. Those are the atomic hydrogen. The big bubbles are carbon or helium. And very big bubbles, the ones that boil, they come very from the bottom and they just come to the top and open up, you see. These are nitrogen.
Okay.
These are not hydrogen or carbon. In the pot, in the CO2 box, in your carbon box, you produce about 10 different gases.
In the CO2
you
box?
Produce. Yes, of course. You produce, this is how our body gets volume. That's what we saw with Jackie yesterday. These are the gases which get created in the box, and as they come out in the nano state, in a gas state, and then they make a structure. That's how your body and my body is made up. That's why when you, excuse my French, when you fart, you have different smells. These are the carbon-orientated gases attachment to it. Certain smell has nitrogen to it. So if you convert that smell into a solid, you get a pink diamond. If you convert the other one, another smell, and make it into solid, you get a blue diamond. These things you have to pay attention to, and a lot. I mean, nobody ever pays attention to, and that's the difference.
How we can capture that in our cores, Mr. Keshe?
It's very easy. You put a cap on the top of it. Your top of this box, you take the cap of this box. You know, I told you to buy that helium sealing.
Yes, I looked everywhere. I couldn't find it in here, Mr. Keshe.
Caroline, where do we have it? Where is mine? I even took it to Iran with me when I went. I carry about 1 liter of it.
If you can,
it's in the lab. I tried to take. Caroline has found it. She knows where it is. There was one company that is a specialty of the helium balloons. They sell it. On top of this container, you just brush it. It's like a white of a yolk. But when it dries up, it becomes, it's like a jelly, Caroline says. And then you just brush it on the top and you put your cap on and it's sealed. So no gases can pass. Helium is the finest. When helium cannot pass, nothing else can pass. If you look at the reactors I brought back from Iran, you see a very thin film. Nobody pays attention to it. But that's the secret of holding gases in. Nobody could break it up.
Yeah,
pardon?
I seen it. I took it out, some of them.
Yeah. This film is a sealant for hydrogen plasma. It costs nothing, but is the most effective way to hold on to, what do you call it, to hold on to atomic hydrogen. And if you carry with the process in your reactors, you convert at some point you convert atomic hydrogen, molecular hydrogen to atomic. If you make hole on top of this box in a specific way, you put it up in a slope. It's a special way to do it. You put the cap in a special way in a slope, like a roof, slanted roof, and you make holes in different positions. And then you'll find out pure gases will come out of certain positions. But you have to put some other things on the top that attracts it to it, and then it works. Then you can collect pure atomic hydrogen. They spend billions, Americans, to create atomic hydrogen, and I do it with few cents. You got to start playing, but then you can bring these gases back into reactors. This is what I did. Feed it back.
Oh, Mr. Keshe. That I don't
Oh, Arman. When you create a centrifuge in the reactor, it pulls it in. It's like a pump.
Okay.
But the thing is, pardon?
How to feed it that, from the box? Or you don't?
Very easy, just plastic pipes, nano-coat plastic pipes. Fish tank pipes. But somebody's talking, somebody's showing something.
Oh, I'm not talking. I'll let Mr. Keshe talk. He's talking about what I just made.
What have you made?
Well, I've been a part of the organization for a long, long time since the first blueprint, and my thinking brought me to this point. The point is that, like Mr. Keshe just said, each one of these have a plastic tube inside. You can see we can put GANs in each position. I have a cap on each one. You can see the cap. Each ring has a cap, so you can put different GANs inside the rings. And once things change, if you want to put different GANs in the rings, the cap comes off. You just, well, I don't want to keep taking apart, but this is, and then on the smaller inner rings, you have a small valve that you can just disconnect and use your syringe to put GANs inside the ring. And like he said, like we've been taught, we're trying to make a toroidal ring with a centrifuge and outside. So this is my thinking on the whole thing was, instead of, these are single coil rings with one wire system that goes all the way through. So what I did was I took instead of double coils anymore, like Mr. Keshe said, and I kept thinking about it, the tubes are right. You can put whatever you need inside the tubes, whatever GANs we need. Right now, with this configuration, I can put up to 16 different GANs in. So what I've done is I've taken a single copper coil wire with my T connection, and I can put it all together real fast. I know we don't have a lot of time, and I'd be more than glad to put it together. But I made our double coil with with the T in the coil. Now I transferred the power from inside to outside, meaning that I took the coil in from outside and I took the power from outside back inside and brought it back outside again, because I took and made two holes in the T here one in and one out. And you know how tight we don't have a lot of time, so that's the easy part. This is all the easy part. So I know Mr. Keshe we have limited time, so I just want to go fast now and just have him just like look at this, and I'm sure he's looking at it. So I've made every single ring adjust, not in the center coil. It's a center coil. Look, you can put your hands in it, and this is where I want to see the blue light. This is my creation. This is I want to see the light here. This is where Earth comes into the center. These are our outside toroidal rings that bring Earth, everything from the universe in and out, in and out. I didn't have enough money to have the other two sides built tonight. I worked as hard as I could, but I ran out of parts and money. But I think you kind of get the idea that here I'll have the two bigger rings upward and two the same size, but on a lower end this way. And on this end, I'll have the two smaller, these are our inner rings. These inner rings are the same rings that used to be on the inside of these. Here and here, here and here. So the middle part of the whole heart of this creation, we're going to get a flow this way, a flow this way, a small flow, big flow, in the middle, all conversion. And I have the wiring diagram that I thought was correct. So what I thought was, and I know I'm taking up everybody's time, but I thought it was important, and I'm dedicating all this to Fabio because I had to think really quick, and I have a lot of stuff on my head anyway. So anyway, in the beginning, as the North Pole has it, it's a smaller part of the top of our Earth that leads down here. And because it's a positive and negative, well, it starts here. The top ring starts here, and it leads down to the bottom here, which would be this ring here. So it wraps around from outside to outside, and then we just go from there. Outside, inside, inside, outside, and just kind of back and forth. So anyway, that's my...
If you listen to the teaching tomorrow, tomorrow's teaching will change a lot of things, and as I said, souls come in the right time to do the right things. When you listen to the teaching tomorrow, you understand what you got to do with this. We changed the position. One thing I don't understand, why do you want to make the blue light?
Well, I thought the blue light was supposed to be in the middle. That's where the source...
Can somebody explain to me what is this? I see a lot of people trying to create blue lights.
I don't know what that means. You hear about it all the time. I could really care less about it.
No. You care a lot. If you understand the reason for it, then you understand how you can use it in your system. It helps you a lot.
Well, isn't it...
Armin, can you just wait 1 second? We can delay the teaching this morning. I have plenty of time. We can stay here till 12 o'clock. There's not a problem. Armin, can somebody in the background explain the blue light, please? Are you aware of it, Rick?
My impression would be that it would be the interaction between two fields that would create the light. So,
but how do they produce it? You see it in the bottom. I mean, I want you to understand the essence of it, not just to show a blue light, and then you understand the reason. Can anybody explain to us why you see these blue lights? We see the containers, and you see a lot of people posting them.
The blue light you were talking about, the plasma, is the field of the Earth.
Why do we see the blue? How do they create it?
From the nitrogen, isn't that correct?
No. In these ganses which they produce and the balls, and we see this blue color. Can anybody explain?
Isn't that the spaceship that you need to create the environment of the Earth around you? That's so that if you have the blue light of the Earth, you're encapsulating yourself in the fields of the Earth.
No. I'm not going that way. How do they produce this blue light? You know the systems they use, the pieces they use.
Dr. Keshe, I'm not sure exactly. You might be referring to some of my stuff. I always use like these LED lights just to see different effects within the containers. You know, the GANs. I enjoy the holographic effects that it creates inside bowls and stuff like that.
It's true. It's true. Many people use LEDs. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Can you explain?
Does it have to do with anything with photonic light?
There is a difference between a plasmatic light and anything else. The light with the plasma is transparent. With electrons and photons is, what do you call it? Vector, they call it.
Vector?
It's a main point, yeah. So in plasmatic is transparent. It's like when you look into the sky. You don't look down the tube. You look at the totality, because molecular atomic structure is not there, but it's more like a gas of fields. Tomorrow's teaching, we're going to change a lot of things. Just listen to it tomorrow. This framework you have, you need just a little bit to add to it, or you don't even need to add to it. And then you might find a new dimension in it. There is something that just happens to be available, and it's these plastic tubes you're using. The hot glue, if you even use hot glue, just even at the joints, you don't need it. You know, this hot glue, what do you call it, you use? Just hot glue your joints. Not needed, it'll never come off. But when you use this hot glue, you produce a certain amount of gas of hydrogen. And then when you stick it on the plastic, it stays there. In the future time, when you use it as a frame, you have available hydrogen. You don't need to do it. Used topically. Sorry about this. He's the boss of the house. The atomic hydrogen. Oh, Stephanie's here. The atomic hydrogen released in the environment, you can use it in a very effective way. Very, very effective way. I used hot glues as an energy source. These these atomic hydrogen, just pick him up, please, Stephanie. Some of these gases are atomic, some are molecular, and the process will give you a huge amount of energy.
So may I ask you one question, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, go on.
now that I understand, I understood that because you said that it was a small thing when you used to make health cups and stuff for people. You would use the hot glue and the release of that energy from the hot glue. And so I researched how that energy was released through the hot glue was 120 degrees. The glue coming out of the tip of the gun was 120 degrees. So I took that to another level, or just kept thinking about it. And with all my tubes now, I just wanted to build this so that I could show it tonight. So my understanding with your tip or your tell or your little, maybe you didn't or did, or you said it or whatever, and it's true now, and you're making it true now, is that if we get the tubes inside here more than 120 degrees, they start to release the CH in it. So I learned, I've been working with it now for a while, and I did it with my containers and everything I've been doing with. I take it with a roasting pan to 100, my caustic solution to 150 degrees. It's a rapid release, like Armin said. It makes GANs, it makes everything at that temperature. So this is just this is the build now. I had to make everything fit properly. So now my next step in my process is to, I have the roasting pan it holds about 3 gallons of caustic and water, and I've been using it. I've been using it to make nano coating on my tubes and everything. It works properly. I can show how long my tubes lasted with the nano coating on it. But anyway, now that you've said that to me, I know that the plastic and all this is all created from plastic and rubber and copper. There's only 3 elements here.
You see, if you look at your body, the hydrogen in the amino acid is released this way. The water is the what do you call it? What I call the liquid of the lymph creates that condition of the release of hydrogen at a given point, depending on different temperature, different rates. So at a given temperature, it releases energy to your cell of your, let's say, lung, and then in another temperature releases energy to the cell of your tooth, or whatever, the root of the tooth. You got to stop playing with the conditions. And something which you overlook, even when you explain, you look at the temperature. You got to look at the plasma flow strength. Even in your caustic, the way you heat it, as the GANs goes to the bottom, it creates a different field strength. This, in all your caustic systems, you don't have a caustic interaction. Once you stop producing the GANs, even if it's boiling or it's the cold condition, you continuously create a flow field. It's not matter state anymore. And if you understand this in all your systems, then you can use it. The second the first GANs is released, even in the caustic is not in the matter state anymore. The caustic is exactly what you call it, the water from the caustic. When you use it, that water is a plasma, GANs plasma. You have no use for it, but I use it heavily because nobody has understood. How come you take your GANs, you wash it, you put it in the water, and then you use it as a GANs plasma? Yeah, copper or whatever. Is there any difference between that water and the GANs, the caustic water you use?
I collect it all.
Yes, I do too.
It's a GANs. It's a plasmatic GANs. It's one of the most powerful. But the problem with it is, depends how you started it and what you put in it. If you saw, I deliberately used to put potassium in it. Even Armand knows I buy a separate amount of potassium as an oxide in the lab. Pardon?
I use it all the time.
Yeah, but then your water, caustic water, is totally different. It's got but you have to wash it. You can wash this water of the caustic. There is a way to do it.
4 or 5
Pardon?
I wash it 4 or 5, maybe 6 times, Mr. Keshe.
No, the water of the gun, the caustic.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So then you can use it in a very beautiful ways. In a beautiful ways.
But what if it starts out? What if we keep it in a clean condition where we don't have to really worry about washing it?
It's got parameters in there that you can't do. How can you hold it? It burns. It causes problems.
Even in a low condition of salt and no caustic at all. Because what I did in my containers here is I nano-coated all the containers, and I put everything. Everything I did was I did the rapid release, like Armin told me to do. Was when I nano-coated things, I washed the caustic off immediately, so I didn't have any of the caustic in any of the product that I have. So really, everything I have that you see right here is in a pure state. There's no really, the water that I put in the containers.
You see, there is a different approach. When you wash it, you don't allow a real growth and release of monoatomic. I never wash anything. When I put things in caustic, I leave them for days. Arman is a 7-month-old born.
No, I didn't
be in a rush.
No.
What you got? Try. When you next time, give it time. Go for a holiday, and then come and wash it.
Well, I've let this sit here.
It's like a fungus. It attracts so much energy to it. What you try to achieve with washing and then trying to control it, you need 20 times more process than when you leave it. Learn one thing: universe has time. Universe has all the time. And if you're working with the universe, you can't create shortcuts. I tell this all the time. When you make things, you put in the caustic, you boil it, you speed up part of it, let it grow. Leave it for a day or two. You don't see it. But because you created the GANs, you store so much energy in the matter end and the nano end. You get much more powerful system. Much more powerful system.
But you wash it afterwards, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But you let it grow. It's a popcorn.
Yeah, I know.
You have to let it.
For months, Mr. Keshe.
I've done that. I said in the core, in the brown core, we have 2 months. I have the patience of the universe. To me, you lot, you're like, I always tell a joke about the Jews and the Muslims. When a Jew goes to a toilet, he stays there for 2 or 3 hours. When a Muslim goes to a toilet, he goes in and out quick because he's running outside to make money. But the Jew sits his time and plans everything, and he goes out. He earns more than the other guy. It's the same. It's a lot of hidden knowledge in it. Take your time. The number of cores and coils I see made, it used to take me 2 months to make it. I watch it. How does it change? What I can use with it. I watch, glance, use you. If you observe and you see how much energy is stored in it, it's enormous. And you literally cook and you throw the best part away. You're happy with crumbs. The whole process is to create a dynamic plasma, and you create a factory, and then you throw all the products out. Anything, even with the copper, I have a huge problem with the factory. Copper coils should be left at least 48 hours. At least. You find you produce much more powerful system. And then when you wash it, even that washing creates a lot of residue. These are all, the minute you create a atomic condition in a state, it will create a lot of gases of every element in the environment of it. You find copper in it. If you look, just a very quick look, go back on the teachings which, what do you call it, Ghana brought on the table. Look at the elements, how much is different. So much reduction. They see so much reduction of calcium or iron or whatever in the water. Yeah, it's not magic. Where is it gone? It's in the sediment. Sediment test shows a huge difference. You're throwing the best part out as sediments where it should be in the structure. These pipes you have, this you've seen in the patents even. Very clearly, you create these kind of drawings has put fear in the back of the nuclear scientists, especially in weapon technology. To you, it's just a picture, but if you understand the reason I put it there and the science behind it takes another 100, 200 years for the nuclear physicists to understand this. If you look, the two bottles I always use, I have a lot of twin bottles. You create a twin system of gases. One goes in, one comes out, and then they process themselves. A lot of these things, a lot of the accumulation of knowledge comes from patience. You got to be patient. You lot make coils. I never understood why. There's so many coils, so many different things. You make things, but you don't finish it. You nano coils, you make these cancers, you make a beautiful system. Put the whole system and then have a look at it and see what happens. Listen to the teaching tomorrow. Tomorrow we change the course. And a lot of you would understand. We go into it through what we call plasma technology. And then it'll bring a lot of things, like the structure you showed us. You will be running into the skies. The reality is very, 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 very simple. You've got to take your time. Take your time. There is no rush. And then allow, you bake the cake and then you throw the best part of it away. And I see this all the time. People make copper coils in the caustic, out of caustic. Well, we have a coil. Oh boy. That core will create, let's say, 1 megawatt. The coil I make makes 10 to the power of 50, 60 order of magnitude. And I only taken 3 days, 4 days more than what you made. You find when you give it time, even your system behave different. And patience is absolute key to this. You cannot speed it up. When you release a nano layer, it has to absorb enough energy that it finds its position, it becomes a sponge. You create a nano layer and you sit on it, because when you wash it, you blocked it. The performance is different. The energy in the spaces between the nanomaterials is different. It's good to see all these big units made, all these units continuously coming out. They all work at 10% maximum efficiency. Where is the other 90%? The 90% comes with 2 days, 3 days of patience. You will see, you feel, even when you touch your coils, when you touch the frame, they talk to you because they carry a different energy. You won't be able to handle it. You make a core now, you have these copper coils, dip it in a caustic, the way you do it, and then dip it in a caustic and leave it for a week, and then you hold it. You feel different energy. She's in the back. And then you'll see that energy difference you feel is the energy you can use in your system. start taking time. We've done the teaching. Now it's time to play game. It's trying to develop it. And then in that process, while you're letting it grow, you create huge amount of gases, huge amount of gases. If you create two plasma fields above and below your frame, you see every color in the universe in a plasmatic color. Plasmatic color is different than the normal color. Take your time. It's too much rush. I don't know, see what the rush is for. And then you see your system that much more powerful, much more efficient. And these plastic frames you use, just seal them in one end and the other. Put the heads of Coca-Cola bottle, the thread ends, inside these tubes, and put some caustic in it and seal it. It's a frame nobody knows, but you release huge amount of energy around it into your system. When I was in Iran, I asked Caroline to send me. She went around the whole of God knows West Flanders, finding Coca-Colas, cutting the tops, shredding them, and sending to Iran for movement to me in half a kilo packs. I still have them. They're somewhere in the lab, the ones I brought back. There are little things you can do, but you're in such a hurry to do things and you miss the little things. You make a small caustic, just put the heads in a small caustic and put it in these tubes you're making, frames, and seal it. But the energy is plasmatic. It comes so much, you find your energy system is totally different. Get the hot glues and just glue plastics together and put it in these tubes. With a little bit of just a caustic. The energy release will be for thousands of years if the carbon of the tube doesn't, but you nano-coat it inside very rapidly, it becomes a cocoon of itself. Just take, you said you're done, you do these caustic things and you take it down and you wash it. I don't understand why. Never understood why. I've told Armin, you're 7 months, no, everything has to be a rush. Take your time and leave your caustic, leave the things in the caustic. You don't see any difference. But when you make the caustic and let it cool down, in the beginning when it's hot, you work with a matter state. But you know in that point you created gas in it, partially gas. When you leave it in the liquid, now is the plasmatic part which comes into operation, the gas part, because what you made separated and came off, the whitish cloud at the bottom of your caustic, now creates a plasmatic condition. And the molecular structure separate than atomic structure separate than matter structure separate will interact with these fields. You charge them up. It's the same as the nanolayers. It's the same as how you work with the gas coating. Now the energy of the gas which you release at the bottom is getting absorbed between the layers. You create layers internally which you don't see, but the structure are totally different. This is how your brain has different layers. Time. You produce hugely different systems. I see it's becoming, what do you call it, battery chicken factory. People produce as many cores as they like. They do so much. I made this hundreds, but you make 100, I make 1. You produce 1 kilowatt, I produce 1,000. I take 3 days, you take half a day. Slow down. You have all the knowledge. Now try to grow it. It takes 1,000,000 years to build a star. It takes 100,000 years to make a planet. Do you want to play with the planet or do you want to play with it? Take the time. Just it's so much rush. I don't understand what's a rush for. Just producing things, or do you produce one system which works? You'll see tomorrow. From tomorrow, you understand what's the concept behind it. You will never do anything else. You take your time. Tomorrow we play a game of cosmos.
So looking forward to that.
Don't look forward to it. You might kick yourself. Why didn't you do it from the beginning? But start to take time. You've done everything. Calls have been made. You come up with the exotic setups. But take your time. It'll be very powerful. The system you have can be very powerful if it's structured, planned to absorb energy. Every frame, every piece you use in this frame is an energy source. And you throw it away because you're so concentrated on having the coils. If you have the coils and you can create a field barrier with a wide frame, that the energy in the box becomes now the coils are in a plasmatic condition and they're continuously supplied in a field that in a gas, you are ahead of anyone in the whole technology development. But you don't see it. You already, if you nano-coat your tubes and put a nano-coat material inside that you can support the nano fields, because you only use hydrogen and carbon as the structure of the white tube, which means your filtering is very low, so you create huge amount of power coming out of it. Your coils are in a field condition. Your coils are working in what we are trying to teach now, but you don't see it. You look at it as a frame. I look at it as a jewel box. Dismantle it. I tried to explain this to Ali once, but he couldn't understand it. It doesn't come from that side, it comes from the computer side. But your frame, if you look at it, if you understand the principle behind the teaching stuff from tomorrow, you make your frame the source of energy for your system, but you hide it in it. Take your time, develop it. And you nano-coated it, you washed it, waste of time. You wasted, you built such a thing and you wasted it.
So by nano coating the outside of all the white pipes that I had on my outside.
No, you do inside, you don't touch the outside.
Well,
you nano coat the inside and you put some Coca-Cola threads inside it, you put some caustic in it and put them inside and leave it. You have a huge energy source. You got to look every level you made. Now the fields of the what comes out from inside the tube makes a curtain. You understand? It makes a field curtain. And when you boxed it, you have an energy resource. Your coil will produce energies and say, I don't know why it's making so much, because you already have put the source to it in the pipe. A lot of work I do is hidden and people don't understand. Because I understand the process, but you got to understand how you do things. Your nano coating is you already create. In the teaching last week, I put circles on the circles on the circles. You got to understand 90% of your energy source comes from the frame. If you know how to play with it. You make a frame, you create 1 kilowatt. I make the same frame my way, I produce 1,000 kilowatts. You see it's the same copper, but why don't I get this? How come it works with him? Because I don't tell you the trick. You understand? So you make all these things, you nano-coat the tube, but you don't leave a source of energy in it. And then you have trap on top of trap on top of trap. Your frame is a huge energy supply, and then you make it because you have conditioned it. Even your pipelines, even your wires, connecting wires, all these counts.
So if I put caustic solution, because I left each corner open so that I could do that. So so that
No, you don't do a caustic solution. Putting a caustic solution on its own, you need to introduce a source that the caustic over time releases that. We put caustic in our coil winding in the factory and the sugar.
Oh, so you want this to be a feeding source. So I understand that part. So if I make a mixture of GANS and honey and caustic, and
whatever you do,
and fill the pipe
you
with
got to look what your material is made of and how you do it. Some of these plastics are made to contain hold caustic. So if it's made to hold caustic over a period of time, you produce a little caustic you always need the energy source. Your energy source is CH3. And the only energy source you can use, which is dynamic, is what do you call it? Plastics, different kind of plastics. Not all plastics respond releasing hydrogen. And that's
I try to stay away from all the chloride plastics.
Look at
there's no lead.
Look at the Coca-Cola bottle. Coca-Cola bottle is the top is one of the best sources.
Well, when they say, well, the tubing that I used is lead free. There's no lead, and it's compatible. You know, it's inert. It's, you know, there's no reaction to it. So whatever I use now to put back into it, hopefully it'll react the way I want it to, not the way it was developed.
Can I tell you what I've done? Related to the caustic. This information in some other ways, Rick mentioned me many months ago. Well, I was explaining him that I was keeping my caustic every time I finished nano coating or doing whatever. And now I have a full bucket of it, very dark, gluey, blue color. So what I was doing, as you mentioned, that you should be doing, adding caustic inside the tubes, and I washed that, I cleaned that caustic that I collected, like gluey, and put in a spray, which I've been doing, spraying the structure of it with that all the time, and I've even put it in the ping pong ball, and I've written an odd mix in it, because I've also made food GANs by using the caustic in the same bucket. That's I've been doing it, but I thought everybody knew to do that, and adding caustic. That was interesting to hear, and the hot glue was a shocker. Oh my goodness, I had no idea. That explained a lot to me. That's just amazing. Well, that's just what I want to add. Thank you.
Use what you call, you can use certain plastic leaves,
okay,
like in Africa or in South America. The very thick, gluey plants, they like to have a wax on them. These are huge source of hydrogen. These are ready-made protein, nanostructure. You can just use them with a small amount of even producing caustic from the wood will release itself, and then you can use it as a source of energy. What's his name? Alex plays with these things without him knowing, or he knows he plays it in a very devious way.
Mr. Keshe, pine tree is releasing that kind of.
Yeah, Alex is fully aware of this. I've seen him working with it. Not many people understand it, but Alex understands this very good.
Well,
but
yeah.
it's not the matter, it's the oil which gives you the effect of the energy, and because you use a gas state matter because it's vegetation, it creates its own condition of energy. You don't need to go into plastic. This is how on our planet a lot of conversions are. This is one of the reasons we need fires. You know the jungle fires, if you look at the jungle, it becomes a huge element, huge growth, because that's what happens. The wood will hold some of these nanocaustic gases and
Oh my
hydrogen,
goodness.
and then it releases it. That's the process. It's not just a nano layer. This is why we need fires. It's part of the process of restructuring energy. A lot of people tell me, oh, you know, these big, huge bushfires, they've been there for centuries because it's part of the process. You try to stop them, then you have a problem another place. If you look at the floods, we need them because now they wash the gas into the ocean and the life stops. Because the gassing is already done. You change the matter condition already into the gas system. If you look at the nature, it tells you everything. All you need is to understand it to replicate it.
There had been a huge fire in Idlewild 3 years ago, and the fire, what do you call, brigade, they flooded the whole place. It was a huge fire, and the neighbors were telling the black gooey water was rushing up to their almost like belly, and they went away. But after a couple of years ago, a couple of years later, their vegetation, their sort of what they grow there, it's a little farm they got. It was like 10 times better results than previously. So that's really interesting. I mean, I'm just all that coming back just because you're saying all this. That's amazing. I mean, I can imagine that fire, all those animals and vegetation and fruits, and this giant primordial soup is just like rushing and washing it all up. That's unbelievable. Amazing. So that's like a supernatural, super powered up GANs where I wish I'd collected some. But unbelievable. Hello. Wow.
Are you still okay, Mr. Keshe, or do you have to go to a teaching or something here?
Rick, may I ask you a question? Quick question before we finish.
Sure.
For the tomorrow's teaching, I'm in Istanbul right now. As I told you before, one of my friends is coming with his pads and a couple of pens. And is it okay to sort of officially or unofficially sort of establish a Turkey Keshe Foundation? I know there are Facebook sites, but he's so keen to sort of continue. I'm gonna have to go back to California, of course, after a while, but he'd like to continue. And can we just like 2 minutes and come up and say hi? And we're planning on wearing a T-shirt written Fabio in heart. Would that be okay?
I don't understand your question. Could you?
My question is, like,
you talked about starting a Facebook site with a Keshe Foundation logo.
Not a Facebook site. It's like I'm in Istanbul now, and in Istanbul there are many people who are actually building and making these devices, and they're trying to understand with the translation. They have a bit of a language barrier, and so there are a couple of people who are translating it, but there isn't any sort of a platform where they can come and do their thing, and just like how they do it in Germany. Perhaps it won't ever come to that established here, but somehow just a small platform where we can call Keshe Foundation Turkey and present our things as we
No, you won't be able to do that.
Okay?
No, that's not okay. You have to apply as a manufacturer to be a manufacturer, and it has to be certified products. And you would have to apply as a Keshe Foundation of a particular country if you wanted to start a Keshe Foundation that way. And it all has to be
Excellent.
done through the proper channels and through the registering and so on. In order to use any of the Keshe Foundation logos or the Keshe Foundation name or anything, it all has to be done through specified ways. But we are trying to find a way that people can get together, similar to what we saw in the was it the German presentation? And you know, they're explaining a way that maybe we can share the teaching and share the building of the MagGrav unit, or it could be health pads or pens or whatever it happens to be, and find a way to do it without having any liability for the Keshe Foundation to start with, by avoiding all sort of labels and so on that way. But we're still trying to work out a system that can work, so
for everyone equally, sure.
Yeah, so that people can, you know, not just do it haphazardly, but be under the umbrella of the Keshe Foundation in some manner and so on. So maybe more will get revealed on that in the next workshop or two. There is work in the background going on to try to come up with a plan that way, because there's many people that want to just get together and build things with others, and without having to go through full certification in a country, which requires, you know, many thousands of dollars and so on. It's setting up a factory and that kind of thing is a pretty involved process. So there's sort of seems like there's two
when you
streams.
said about manufacturing,
Sorry, gentlemen. This is Sylvester Belson from Keshe Foundation Manufacturing Department, and I see that the gentleman Alper have applied already for manufacturing. Yes, I have his applications, as I can see. Your name, last name is Aktas?
No, that's not me.
That's a different. Okay,
that's a different person from Turkey.
As Rick explained, you need to go through on the foundational side, support side, support.keshefoundation.org, and you can find over there the related places where you can choose applications and you apply. You filled up the form, very long, detailed form. Once you filled up this form, your application is going to be going into our system, and you need to provide some of the credential informations like IDs and passwords, things like that, to have a security process. During this process, you know, you become an applicant. Then, you know, there is also a delicate process of finding out, you know, how your operation works if you want to become a manufacturer. The same as for foundation, there's a different departments, different group of people working on it. But thank you, Rick. This is exactly the process. So we are welcome you, manufacturer. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all those informations.
What about the other plan, Sylvester? What can you tell people about if you don't want to become a full manufacturer, but you'd like to share with people and get together and have little meetings on how to build plasma devices and so on?
You see, there's a beautiful things. 1.5 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we had a gentleman from Germany, and Mr. Armini, who explained these things called workshops. He's setting up workshops, beautiful workshops, to teaching people how to build magravs, how to build pans, and, you know, teaching them. Now he is running also a setup for explaining, teaching people how to do this. Now this is a process what take place already with Mr. Keshe, so it's going to be an official setup. They are doing in the background the details of how this should be done, all the small little things, you know, make sure everything is correct. But I know there is already a workable process. Many people are already learning this, and basically this way you're going to have a chance to teach people the technology. Then they can come together and they can make it. Is not a manufacturer. You're not going to be able to use the logos, you're not going to be able to use the names, but at least you can share people how
Perfect.
teaching to them. And this is basically when you start doing this, you're not calling yourself a manufacturer, but you
No.
basically learned all the processes. And once you got to the point when you find some investors, you find some bigger friends who can support you and in business wise, and you feel so that you come forward and become an official manufacturer, then you can apply it, then you can go through in this process. Don't forget that every product which Keshe Foundation manufacturers produce around the world will have certifications. So certification process,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a very professional thing. So what you need to do is way different than let's get together with friends and build something. Thank you for your question.
Excellent. It's going to shed a light for the ones that in Turkey, because there's a bit of a confusion. Sort of, there are lots of translations which are great. I'm reading all of them. It's just like so accurate, and but people have more questions and they want to get together, not making money as you explained it, just like all together and being really nice and smiling and like, oh, Germany's photos are amazing. Like I'm smiling when I'm looking at them. It's so beautiful.
Teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkür ederim. Ben teşekkür ederim efendim. Thank you. Excellent.
Right on. Okay. I've lost my list of participants and inability to even click on the chat here. I can't communicate basically with anyone, so I'm not sure if Mr. Keshe is still in or if he's left. I guess he's gone by now.
No, he's as soon as you reach out to him and you're looking for him, he was actually already out. He had to go
Right.
because he started the teaching.
I thought so, yeah. Okay. I think I probably should complete the meeting
I wanted
here.
to ask one more question.
Absolutely.
I didn't really want to ask any questions. I was going to actually say to Armin, the reason why I'm using a copper-clad carbon is because it's so prevalent. And that's why I wanted to test it. It's so easy to find. You can go to a welding supply and you can find a gouging rod. It's a copper-clad carbon stick. And if it did what I wanted it to do, it would be something then I could use to share with others to make it. And so it produces a GANs, but what kind of GANs, I don't know. And I wasn't particularly paying attention to the gases that came off of it. And now I can set up a system to do just that. And,
that
to collect it.
We all are learning, and it's we will not all are physicists, atomic physicists to pay this kind of teachings. We all know atoms. It's all new for us. We do it slowly but surely.
Yeah, Danny, that copper on those gouging rods comes off pretty easy. You can peel it right off.
Can I ask one question? Because I posted something on the Golden Age of Games, and I don't want to make other people think that they should do it, and I'm just a little bit worried.
Sure, yeah.
And maybe John can answer this question, because I'm working on a very low budget, and in the beginning my screenshot was those carbon rods. And I took I got those carbon rods from 6-volt batteries. I cut the bottom off of them, and the rods were inside. So I pulled them out, and all the corrosive stuff or whatever batteries are made of, 6-volt batteries, the big chunky ones. There was 3. They were the non-alkaline batteries. So they were just ever-ready batteries. They had 4, what I thought were supposed to be carbon rods. So in each battery, there's 4 of them. So I cut the bottom off, and I pulled the rod out, and I washed them in baking soda first, and then I washed them in vinegar, and then I washed them in just pure water. So now I want to use them as just like our nano coating in every process. So I'm just asking John, Don, do you know that if those rods inside, and I can show you, I cleaned them up, sanded them and everything. Are they good carbon rods to work with now that I cleaned them?
They would be a fairly decent graphite. Cleaning them is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt because that graphite is quite porous. So it's going to get whatever goop is in those batteries, magnesium sulfate or whatever it is, it's going to get right into the pores of that material. And sanding it, yeah, that's going to help. If you can get EDM electrode material, electrode discharge machining material, if you go to a machine shop that's got the electrical discharge machine that do mold making and stuff, you can get an incredibly high quality graphite from those guys.
Yeah, but you gotta
you can
think that there's
get off of
people
eBay.
around the world that this was the best way to, I thought, could do it with washing and cleaning. And do you want to look at it to see if it looked like when I did it?
It's atomic. I wouldn't be able to see it.
How could I just figure out if it's clean or not?
Well, I would use it. Go, use what you're doing, but be aware there may be a contaminant in there. Okay, so don't consume the water that you're using from it until you're certain that you're working with really clean, pure materials.
You might want to use the rod first in a sort of a sample container and then dump that out and then use it after that, like blow off the surface stuff by throwing a bunch of power through it.
Hit it with high current
Yeah.
for 20 minutes or so.
High current meaning because I just bought the machine that we can do work with the current. So how high to burn the carbon should I burn it?
I'd
go 2, 3, 4 volts.
We'll get a fully charged car battery and hit it with that.
12 volts.
Yeah, like 40 or 50 amps.
My the machine that I bought will go up to 30 volts.
Yeah,
I think
you'll start bubbling quite a bit, and you'll have to watch out because you'll be producing hydrogen and oxygen, which is very explosive. Don't do it in a closed container. And
I would never just like juice it up, but do you think that would clean the rod?
I would think it would, yeah. And I think your power supply, I think you're limited to 5 amps, which may not be enough. Like I said, I'd go and get a fully charged car battery, deep cycle, big ass 600 amp battery, and hit it with that. Do it outside so you're venting off because you're gonna get electrolysis.
And you could reverse the plus and minus perhaps and use both carbon electrodes, and then you could, it would purge each one that way.
Yeah, and that should blow off any contaminants that's left in the carbon.
Okay, cool. Because like I said, I'm poor and I can't go to a metallurgist or a metal supply place. I'm sure I probably could, but
there's
like
also
and buying them for $14 a rod, right?
Oh no, those rods, it's $14 a box.
Oh, a box.
You can if you know a welder who does gouging, if you're anywhere near the coast where they're working on cast iron, big engine blocks, marine engines, that sort of thing, gouging, you can get them cheap like dirt.
This is what I did, Mark. I just went down to a company called Norco. I'm in the United States, and there was 2 sizes. There was 1/4 inch and there was 5/16. The 1/4 inch for 50 sticks, a foot long. The 1/4 inch was about $29.30, and the 5/16 was $30 dollars and something like 43 cents. Of course, I went to the 5/16 because it was only $1 difference, but it was 50 sticks. Now, if you have a friend, there's 56 will go along. If you could split that price up between a few friends, and you got quite a few sticks. Now, John, the carbon that's in that stick, what do you know about it?
It's super high quality, very pure carbon. It's very, very good stuff. A company I used to work for in Richmond, we did a lot of cast iron gouging. That was at a marine engine reconditioning facility. And our smallest gouging rod was a 1/2 inch. And I could get 1/2 inch and 5/8 from those guys, no problem. But it's super, super high quality. There's no contaminants in it because you don't want to add material to your cast iron while you're gouging it.
What do you mean by gouging? So if I went to like
Okay,
these,
the process is just like carbon or just like arc welding.
Mhm.
Okay, you have basically essentially the same machine as an arc welder. You put your negative on your material that you're gouging. You put your positive, or sorry, your positive on the material you're gouging, the negative on your rod, and then you also feed air down the center of the rod. If you look at these rods, they're hollow.
Isn't that a plasma burner?
No, it's a little bit different. And with this, it's kind of the same process, but it's not quite the same process. And you go and you strike an arc on your material, and then the air blows all of the liquefied metal away.
So
And
you want the hots.
it's a really fast way to remove metal.
So you want the hots from the metal that's being removed. The hots, the slag or whatever's being blown off of the metal.
Why would you want it? It's going to be oxidized badly.
No, what I'm saying,
You don't want that for your purpose. You want the rod. You want the
you want the rod. Okay, that's
you
making
want the air arc. You want the air arc carbon rod,
Okay.
and I don't know.
I'm sorry, Denny. What did you say? The air arc?
No, the arc air.
Yeah, Arc Air is the primary welding supply company in North America.
Arc Air. So if I go to them and I ask them for the rod, the welding rod,
Where do you live? Where do you live, Mark?
Michigan.
Okay, you will have. There will be a Norco.
Yes, Norco heat treating company.
Well, Norco also does for health. They have two sides. They have the welding and safety portion, and they have things they sell to people who for wheelchairs and all sorts of other items that you can get diapers there. You can get all sorts of plastic gloves there. But the welding side, you just call them up and ask for a gouging rod, like you would gouge a bull would gouge you if you got hit with a horn, a gouging rod. And the Air Arc is a company that that Norco is a supplier for.
Granger, Motion Industries, TWI Global. There's a whole bunch of them out there that'll do it.
I have a supplier right down the road, Granger, right down the road. So if I ask for a gouging rod and I put that to my my electrical supply, and that is the carbon now that I need in my salt solution to take whatever material put in it. Zinc, copper, titanium, the gouging rod.
John is saying, Mark, John is saying that go ahead and take the copper clad off of it if you want the straight carbon, because it's clad with a little carbon coating.
The copper's gotta do something to that, eh?
The rods I used to work with, you could just take an X-Acto knife and nick it, and then just peel it right off.
Really? That easy.
I thought there might be some value to that carbon. I mean that copper, so that's why I used it with it.
Well, then you have copper plus zinc, not nano copper, but copper and zinc as your main electrodes, basically, because the copper is going to blow off before the carbon does.
It comes off. There's a carbon tip, and it seems to come off of that carbon tip as well. It seems to.
Because you don't have a nano copper in there, you're not going to get the plasmatic reaction from that copper. You're just going to get an electrolysis reaction off the copper. That's all.
Well, it sure does produce a lot of GANs, whatever that GANs is, and it's white and pure. That's what I wanted to know, what it produced, or at least what it looked like. And I know that Francois is doing is using this with the copper on it as well, and that's why I was asking questions to see if people had been using this that way. And so now it's I will be taking just the carbon rod, and what Armin was trying to tell me is really work the carbon on one and smooth it out really good, and use 2 carbon rods to produce the atomic hydrogen. Wasn't that what Armin was after, right,
Yeah.
Armin?
Yeah, pure CO2. You use a polished carbon and just a plain raw carbon. That's what he mentioned earlier. And there was a fella on Facebook. I don't know how well it's will work because there's going to be a lot of contaminants in it. But there was a fella that used a piece of coal, not charcoal, but like clinker coal, stuff you'd use for a forge.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if there'd be so many oils in coal compared to the charcoal, and that's the whole idea is you don't want the oils, I would think, unless maybe you do. Maybe that would create certain amino acids that you'd want to work with. Depends if you want a coal baby or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to predict really accurately what you're going to get if you're going to use a natural material like that. It'll probably work really good.
Another thing that can be used, I think, is pure. Is at a craft store you can get graphite or actual carbon drawing sticks. Drawing. It's like a pencil, but it's all straight carbon.
I think there's a lot of clay in that holds it together.
Yeah,
You think?
graphite itself. I've worked a lot with graphite making EDM electrodes, and although at the end of the day, after grinding this stuff for 6-7 hours, you're black like crazy. It doesn't write on anything. It's it's very solid. It's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So the pencils, artist stuff, it does have a lot of clay in it to allow it to break down really fast.
John and Mark, now, so the pure carbon and the zinc, that's going to give me zinc oxide. The pure carbon and the carbon is going to give me CO2.
I believe so, yes.
Well, I will, yeah. It's amazing just to have 2 carbon rods, one slick and one not slick, to get you CO2. That's pretty nice.
Well, it all depends on the voltage too, though, because you start running higher voltages, you're gonna not get the CO2 GANs.
Yes, so you want to lower.
Like what Armin mentioned, I think he mentioned 0.01 amps, not 0.3 amps. You're using 30 times the amperage that Armin.
No, he was using more amperage than I was. I'm doing milliamps.
Yeah, but you're doing 300 milliamps. That's 0.3 amps.
About me, I am here. You forgot?
Okay, what was your amperage that you used to make CO2 GANs, Armin?
0.01.
0.01 amp.
Yeah.
So that's 10 milliamps. Not 330 milliamps or whatever. So that's about 30 times that you're using there.
It's not very much difference when you start to compare, but it's still fairly low.
Yeah, on a really large system like you were talking about earlier, Denny, 10 milliamps on 30 gallons of solution is probably not going to be enough. So you'll need to bring it up gently and look at the production of it. Look at the way it's producing and try to match what Armin was describing with his production.
It also depends on how far the plates are apart.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was getting.
These plates were 6 inches apart.
Okay.
Well,
Rod in the plate.
Well, and then your salt solution, the concentration of salt matters. If there's any contaminant in the water, it matters.
Yeah.
There's so many variables in there.
My salt was it's a minimal situation. It was just salt that I dissolved in warm water until the water wouldn't take any more salt, and then I used about 10 milliliters per liter.
Okay.
So
you have to use per liter 35 grams of salt.
no, I didn't do it gram wise, but I can do it.
So that's 25 grams per liter, Armin?
No, 35 grams per liter.
35 grams per liter.
Okay.
That's about 3.5%.
Here in a salt water in all our oceans, it's 35 grams per liter.
Right.
So,
You as a nature, that it's a simple calculation. We have ocean water. Everything starts from ocean, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, let's let Rick go. He's got 10 minutes to have a break, and then he's got to go back to work again.
Well, I don't necessarily have to, I don't think, but there is workshops that are going on. I don't like to overlap the workshops here. The streams mix that way.
Well, thank
Okay.
you very much, Rick and John and Mark and everyone here. Thank you very much. See you later.
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks
Pete.
everybody
Glad
for...
you stayed up for
Thanks,
the
guys.
whole thing.
Pardon me?
Bye-bye,
Say
guys.
again, Mark?
Oh, I just wanted to thank Denny for staying up.
All right.
Got a
Yeah,
lot of input. He's,
that's
I
so...
appreciate his thinking and his thought.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate everybody's thinking here. It's been a good active round of participation. That's the important part. Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you very much, man.
We're completely ended. One small thing.
Sure.
Just people question Mr. Keshe's motives or motive operando or how he operates or how we all operate. And, I just want to say that I'm so happy to follow his teachings now that when this, I don't want to bring it back to what happened, but it has to be said. I just want to say a man that can cry in front of the public and just not be able to, hold his emotions and feelings back is a man that I can support and get behind. And I just want him to know that I'll work as hard as he's working and whatever I can do to help. I want to say thank you very much. I'm sorry that for the loss, our family's loss, but we all know what loss is all about because we all know what loss is all about. But he showed us that he's a man that can cry in front of everybody else. And I just want to say thank you, and whatever I can do to help the Keshe Foundation, please use me as they see fit. Thank you very much. I love everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for saying that. And not only that, he can cry, but he can pick himself up and keep on trucking. That's the way we've all learned to do too, I think, through our crying fits and whatnot, or the traumas that we go through in life. So, very good. Thanks for saying that. That's a good way to end things. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so I'm going to end the live stream for now, and I'm thanking everybody for attending. And I wish I could have looked at the live stream more, but there's something strange with the live stream. When I look at it, it automatically kicks on the audio, and I can't turn it off. So I have to not look at the live stream right now until we get that sorted out. Oh well. So thanks everybody. That's the end of the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group for now. It's Wednesday, July 13th, 2016. And thank you everyone, as always, for attending. Okay, bye for now. I'm going to stop the live stream.